This is Prime Global, a local perspective on regional and international stories making the headlines. It is Wednesday, September 28th. I am Chelsea Austin. Good evening. The onus is on the Director of Public Prosecutions to determine what course of action will or will not be taken following the freeing of convicted murderer Alexander Clark last week.
Former Attorney General Darshan Ramdhani is suggesting that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions pursue the release of convicted murderer Alexander Clark in the Privy Council, Grenada's final court of appeal. The then 32-year-old husband, Clark led police to a shallow grave in Montmorris, St. George, where the body of his then 27-year-old wife, Nixian Downs Clark, was found in a suitcase. Clark was found guilty of non-capital murder in 2014 and sentenced to 67.5 years in prison. However, after serving 8 years in jail, he walked free last Tuesday on the order of the Court of Appeal due to the loss of transcript within the Supreme Court. Clark is believed to have already left Grenada for England. Ramdhani believes that the loss of transcript is insufficient to dismiss an appeal that sets Clark free.
The absence of a summing up, the absence of transcript is no reason in Grenada law for an appeal not to be heard. And let me make this point. This appeal was not heard. The Court of Appeal did not hear this appeal, but considered that the missing transcript meant they could not hear it. I do believe that the Office of the DPP ought to consider filing an appeal in this matter. This man has not been set free from the conviction. The conviction is still standing.
During Tuesday's post-cabinet briefing, Attorney General and Minister for Legal Affairs, Claudette Joseph, said the next course of action, if any, lies with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions.
While there is a right of appeal in this case, there will be a right of appeal to the Privy Council. It is for the DPP to determine in his own deliberate judgment whether there is sufficient grounds or there are sufficient grounds on which this matter may be appealed to the Privy Council. This is entirely up to the Director of Public Prosecutions.
The gruesome killing of Nixian Downs Clark happened on the couple's 4th wedding anniversary, when Mrs. Clark allegedly found out that her husband was having an affair with their teenage babysitter. The then 17-year-old student was subsequently used by the prosecution as a key witness, and no charges were brought against her. This is an act that attorney Anselm Clouden says he still can't understand.
The first person he called was his mistress from Montmorris, and she came down and actively participated in the removal, packaging of the body in the suitcase. They drove all around trying to find a suitable resting place. Eventually, they ended up in Montmorris on her family's plot.
Ramdhani explains the possible reasons no charge was brought against the teenage accomplice, as the prosecution team ensured there was a conviction.
The prosecution would have had, I believe, to make a decision that either to get an airtight case against him and to have an independent person speak to what he did subsequently, and that would have led to a jury not being at all uncertain as to what happened. So yes, she is to be blamed. She committed a crime of assisting a murderer dispose of a body. But the killing in this case was done by this accused person.
To the family of Nixian Downs Clark, Minister Joseph extended an apology.
We expressed sorrow that the judicial system did not work sufficiently for you.
Cherry and Blackman Stephen, GBN News.
Some supermarkets in Trinidad may stop the sale of cigarettes altogether after a law prohibiting how tobacco products are displayed is finally being enforced. The West Indian Tobacco Company Limited has informed the groceries store that there is to be only one cigarette dispenser per outlet. This came into effect on Monday.
Just last week, you'd have been able to purchase cigarettes at any of these registers. But not only are the products removed from most of the displays, but any remnants advertising what used to be sold have been removed as well. Now, if you want to smoke, you'll find your product in one place in the store, and one place only. And that's because on Monday, all retail outlets were prohibited from having more than one cigarette dispenser in each location. But don't call it a new law. This has been on the books since 2012, and Regulation 9(4) states no more than one dispenser per outlet. And while supermarkets are complying, the association has some concerns.
I've had some supermarkets indicate to me that they may be considering coming out the business of selling cigarettes altogether if this isn't resolved.
The association believes the restrictions will suppress the sale of tobacco products at the supermarkets, and people will just get their cigarettes elsewhere.
Remember that these cigarettes are typically expensive, and when we have concerns about pilferage and shrinkage, we would not want to sit on stock where we would potentially get hit hard on.
Meanwhile, Whitco told the supermarkets that there are ongoing efforts to find a compromise with the Ministry of Health. Akash Samaru, CNC3 News.
Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, Paula Llewellyn, who withdrew the death penalty as an option, recommended that the 23-year-old serve 60 years and 9 months on each count of murder before he becomes eligible for parole. In response, Harris asked that the judge grant Barnett a 33 1/3% discount on the sentencing, citing that he saved the court's time and resources by pleading guilty in the early stages of the investigation.
We are not happy because the sentence was today and it ended up put off again for the 20th of October. And I am so disappointed in Miss Harris that have my nephew case, because she is pleading for my nephew, and she didn't know that or see that the mother of the daughter and the grandchildren is hurting, is pain all over her. She is crying tears day and night, and she is pleading for the murderer. Huh? You want the murderer to get 45 years? Tell me now, if she did have a daughter and grandchildren that someone came and murdered, would she plead for them to give them 45 years? Would she plead for them to count down for the murderer? I would like to ask her that, because I guess she don't have a child, so she don't know the pain and grief that a mother bear to carry her child. So I guess she don't have a child. And if she have a child, I don't think she would stand up and say what she say, because she would feel the pain and grief that I am going through as a mother. The one daughter. The 3 boy cannot do what a daughter do, you know. Because if I am sick and lying down in the bed, the son them cannot come and tidy me up. But the daughter can do that. So I just want to ask Miss Harrison if she has a daughter and would know the grief and pain that a mother bear to bring her daughter, blow in buckle to bring her daughter, and the murderer just took her life, snatched her soul.
Monday's deadly shooting at Pennywise Supercenter in La Romaine has shocked the nation. The police service is under mounting pressure to crack the case, as the robbery has left 2 security officers dead and a third fighting for his life.
While most of the persons involved in the brazen and deadly robbery at the Pennywise Supercenter in La Romaine were killed by police in a failed bid to capture them, one suspect, a member of the defense force, has been in custody since Tuesday. He was held when he reported that his car was stolen by 5 armed men. That car was used in the robbery, and he has been in police custody since then, facing the TTPS investigative team. The soldier has since retained legal representation who filed a writ of habeas corpus on his behalf, but he has remained in custody because the police have requested additional time to investigate the matter. But up to a short while ago, Justice Devendra Rampasad was in the process of determining the writ. The police filed an affidavit in opposition of the writ because they are arguing that they need additional time to tie up loose ends in their investigation, which includes putting the suspect on an identification parade. This is a developing story, and you can continue to follow the details on the Trinidad Guardian website and in tomorrow's Trinidad Guardian newspaper. Soini Gray, CNC3 News.
This has been Prime Global. I am Chelsea Austini. Up next, Prime Sports with Terry Finisterre, followed by NBC Prime with Dean Brown at 7:30 p.m. Join us on Flow Channel 120, NBC Prime on YouTube, NBC Television St. Lucia on Facebook, and 91.3, 91.5